The key to the heat is really prevention. So preventing um, exposure, preventing the heat-related illnesses. Um, One level of defense is using hats, protective clothing, UV clothing, sunscreen to prevent any sunburns and risk of future development of skin cancers, of that kind of stuff. But then the immediate protection from developing like heat exhaustion and heat stroke is to keep yourself hydrated, try not to overexert yourself in the heat, take frequent breaks, preferably in a cool environment. So, in an air conditioned car, an air conditioned building, or in a with a fan, like an electric fan or that.
Do you find that the first real heat spell every year is when you see the most heat related injuries because it kind of
Um,
creeps up on people?
right. So I think we're going to see more this year, this time, this week, because of the rapid change in the temperature. Usually, we'll maybe have a sporadic 100-degree day leading up until like June, and then we'll have those stretches of several days. This is like a switch just flipped. We went from one day of normalish San Antonio May temperatures to wow, 100 plus degrees, and it's going to last for several days. So our bodies have not had a chance to adjust to that slower, gradual increase in the temperature. So we will probably, or people will probably feel it more and be more affected by the hotter temperatures.
Is there a particular concern for any groups more so than others? I always think about kids in athletics.
Sure. So, anybody is at risk. Younger children who may not understand what's happening or may not be able to, know to come in, get cool, drink a lot, are at risk. Um, Clearly, anybody who's overexerting themselves outside. So, workers, people who have to, work for whatever reason outside are at risk, and anybody who's like, running or exerting themselves with like playing tennis or other games and that. And then the last group that's at risk are the elderly, and mostly not because they're going to be outside, but they still may try to do yard work or that kind of stuff, but they may not have the ability to properly cool their apartment or their house. They may not have central air conditioning. They may not can't afford the central air conditioning, so they keep it at a higher temperature, and they could get heat related illness from being inside, and that. And then there's oftentimes the elderly patients may be on certain medications that could predispose them to it or have medical conditions that make it harder for them to recognize that they're having a heat issue.
What are some of those medical conditions?
Um, Certain medications like beta blockers, like some cardiac medications, uh, sometimes psychiatric medications are some of the big ones, but sometimes even over-the-counter medicines like antihistamines, and that can negatively affect how people respond to heat.
Unfortunately, when people have to visit you in the ERs, and there anything that they're surprised about or that they don't know that you wish that you could tell people?
Um, One of the things I hear a lot of, especially those with the outdoor heat related exertional kind of heat stuff, is I thought I was drinking enough water. Um, and those kind of statements, those are often what I hear from our patients. So I always tell people, like, if you think you're drinking enough, you're probably not. You need to drink more than that. So there's no real hard and fast rule, but clearly if you're outside doing stuff in this kind of heat, if you're normally supposed to drink 8 glasses of liquid a day to keep yourself hydrated and healthy, you probably need to do at least 1.5 to 2 times that amount, especially when you're doing heavy exertion outside.
Yes. What are the first signs that you might be that you need to like stop what you're doing and just take a beat, have some water and cool off?
Sure. So some of the earlier signs include things like muscle cramps, usually in your arms or legs, maybe just feeling a little queasy, a little like stomach upset, not feeling right. And that those are your early signs, but they're often mild enough that people, try to push through it or continue to do stuff. And then you get more of those symptoms to a greater degree, like the muscle cramps are worse, nausea and vomiting will develop, and that kind of stuff. One of the early signs, especially of like heat exhaustion, is the lack of sweating. So if you're outside doing stuff, working hard, and you stop sweating, a lot of people sometimes think that that means, oh, this is good. My body's getting better. I'm not sweating. But that's just the opposite. It's actually a pretty serious sign that your body is in trouble related to the heat and you need to do something about it. And then what makes the jump from heat exhaustion to the much more serious heat stroke is central nervous system changes, usually things like seizure activity, unresponsiveness, um, severe headache, disorientation, not acting correctly.
Answer my questions before I could ask them. Um, what else? Is there anything else that you want to tell us?
Like I said, prevention is key. If you don't have to be outside, don't be out there. Limit the amount of time you're out there. Try to do activities in parts of the day where it's cooler, early morning, later evening, dusk type of hours. Uh, Alcohol is not a good liquid to drink to hydrate yourself. It does the opposite. It actually dehydrates you. So it'll get you sicker quicker related to the heat. And then can't stress this one enough, not to leave children and pets in unattended cars or vehicles. Um, they really have bad outcomes because the heat inside those vehicles gets much more higher than the environmental temperature.